I'm sure that when you hear the name John Carpenter, your mind doesn't immediately jump to In the Mouth of Madness, and I don't blame you. The man has several films that are such permanently defined cultural staples that it kind of eliminates any other discussion of some of his projects that may have slipped through the cracks of the zeitgeist. And while In the Mouth of Madness is far from his best film, when it comes down to straight vibes, I would place this as the most Halloween-feeling-esque film of his, second to only, well, Halloween. For those of you who don't know, the film follows Sam Neill as insurance investigator John Trent, who is sent to locate a missing famous horror author whose books seem to have a tendency to corrupt the mental health of those who read them. I'm sure you could surmise by that synopsis alone that this film is heavily referencing Stephen King and his novels in the premise and satire. They even name drop him at one point early on in a joke referencing the infamous author in the film, Sutter. The film functions almost as a sort of adult version of an episode of Goosebumps while channeling more Lovecraftian Stephen King violent sensibilities. Both Goosebumps and In the Mouth of Madness are projects that are products of the mid-90s with an emphasis on cheese, fun, and a surprising amount of intellectual contemplation. As to be expected with Carpenter's work, the practical effect work in this film is off the freaking charts. Despite the mid-90s cheese of the presentation, it actually starts off relatively cerebral, with Sam Neill's character apparently suffering from paranoid schizophrenia and having flashy visions of your run-of-the-mill violent imagery. But then, once we're flashbacked into the main story, and you get your first glimpse of the Carpenter monsters, it certainly does not disappoint. The cerebral elements remain present throughout and make for an absolutely spectacular final few minutes that are going to be seared into my mind forever, but once it takes a dip into the second act and the film becomes a somewhat more straightforward mystery, the elements of this being a mid-90s horror film that haven't aged the best start to rear their head. There's a bit of a weird romance between Sam Neill and Julie Carmen that they try to shoehorn in there that doesn't really work, and there's this kind of hilariously bad dog attack scene about halfway through where you can see the bite bags protruding through all of the extras' arms as they fall, and characters just start outright saying to each other what the themes of the film are without much of any prompting. In regards to that specifically though, even though there are more than a couple on-the-nose moments like that, I'd be lying if I said a couple of those quotes themselves didn't go kinda hard on their own. I mentioned in the Monster House video how well that film evokes classic Midwestern horror vibes, and how having that film set in Wisconsin is a key indicator. Here, the film takes place on the more New England side of the United States, but the aesthetics and invitingness of the whole thing feel categorically similar. The towns are small, the air feels cool through the screen, the photography has just the slightest air of darkness to the brightest of days, and the score is metal as hell. When the opening credits started to roll, if I hadn't seen the title card right away, I would have likely accidentally thought I was playing an 80s Stallone movie or something. There's an almost Metallica-level rock feel to the orchestrals here that I thought was just spectacular. Not that I would expect much less from Carpenter himself as the composer. For all of the on-the-nose quotes the film does have, the one that has stuck with me the most, and the one that I think has stuck with most fans of the film, is one that really isn't on the nose. And it's "Do you read Sutter Kane?", which is spoken early on in the film by an axe-wielding maniac, and it bleeds pretty heavily into the crux of the question the film literally asks us, early on: when does fiction become religion? This is a problem that has only seemingly gotten exponentially worse in the 30 years since the release of the film. As of this writing, there is a countdown clock on multiple apps and publications for the newest Taylor Swift album, as if we're awaiting the new year or another Rapture prediction. Whether we'll admit it to ourselves or not, the mob mentality we all make fun of when it comes to politics or social issues is bleeding into the art we consume and we align ourselves with quicker than we're realizing. I mean, God forbid you try to open Twitter on opening day for a major film and expect there to not be entire scenes of it already posted there so people can shove in your face that they were the first to experience a cultural moment. And sure, admittedly, it's nice to see sometimes when a new film is released that the public seems to unanimously agree on it, either positively or negatively, because it just takes the headache out of the space for a day. But then again, when one person has the courage to offer a potentially contrarian opinion, said mob seeks to immediately destroy them. We're losing our originality fast. It's a bleak problem, and it's been a problem for a really long time, but if you want to find something that substantively discusses these issues while not making you want to chug a bottle of Benadryl, look no further than In the Mouth of Madness. Even though the ending of the film is rather bleak depending on how you look at it, the film never loses the sense of hilarity and fun that won you over from the start. It's messy, it's cheesy, and it's dated as hell, but it is a 95-minute long John Carpenter film with stunning visuals, a killer score, and even a baby Hayden Christensen cameo, so what's not to like at the end of the day? Thank you guys so much, as always, for watching the video, and thank you for continuing to tune into our October horror series. As always, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace out.